Hey, rock stars, how are you today?
Hi, hi, hi. So
Hello.
excited for today's chat.
Oh, me too. Kendra, welcome. We are thrilled to have you on the show today and cannot wait to hear all your stories. Can you please just introduce yourself quickly to our community and for those who don't know you?
Absolutely. First off, thanks for having me. Also thrilled to be here. My name, Kendra Fisher. I grew up a hockey player, Canadian hockey player.
Woo!
Thank
Yay for
you.
that.
Dreams of the Olympics, dreams of Team Canada, and life had a different plan for me. I was diagnosed with mental illness in my late teens. It cost me my dream of playing for Team Canada, and just kind of been doing life since then, sharing my journey and trying to get through it the same as everybody else with a few highlights along the way and just really grateful to be here able to share my story and take this journey with others.
I love that. And,
Awesome.
Chris and I talk a lot about mental health awareness, mental health just in general. We both have our own stuff and we talk openly about it. Why do you think that's so important for you to share with others?
Um, I don't know if I realized in the beginning how important it was to share with others. I think it was
Mm.
trying to make sense of what had happened to me and maybe looking for a little tiny little bit of light and hope after, walking away from the only thing I ever knew I wanted in my life. And so it started kind of by accident. And as I started sharing my story more and connecting to, I mean, let's be honest, the many people who share this journey and realize just the hope that comes from connection and community. And at that point, I mean, it's become as self-serving as it is for anybody else. It's cathartic. I get to work through my stuff out loud with the rest of the world, and what a gift.
I
Yeah. So take us back. What was the accident? How did it start?
Right? Yeah. So how did it start? I mean, I feel like that story's evolved 20 times over the past
Fair.
20 years. So in the beginning, no clue. I mean, top of my game, carded member of Team Canada's national program, out at tryouts in Calgary, had a few months leading up to that things were kind of feeling off. Couldn't explain it. Didn't have the language, didn't have the knowledge, didn't have a diagnosis. Um, Fast forward, ended up leaving that camp, quitting the team, was diagnosed following that with anxiety, depression, panic, OCD, agoraphobia. Spent 5 years pretty much only leaving my apartment to play hockey. That was it,
Mm.
or to see a psychologist. And I went through a large period of time learning how to cope and survive my diagnoses. And I got pretty good at it. So was sharing that story and that whole period of time, if anybody had asked me what caused it, it didn't, I could have thrown a bunch of stuff at the wall and saw what
Yeah.
sticked, but really no idea. There wasn't one moment that stood out as this kind of, oh, this explains everything.
Yeah.
And it wasn't honestly until this past year of my life when I just went through it. I mean, this has been a year. I lost my father. I had major surgery, dealing with a son with a chronic illness, and
Mm.
just really got sat down. Kind of got put in a position where coping and surviving just wasn't cutting it anymore. And feeling my way into that, started to learn to really see anxiety differently and maybe see it a lot less as a diagnosis and more as a response to surviving for so many years, and started learning a lot more about nervous system and somatics and approaching things from a body mind perspective as opposed to just trying to think through my problems. How can I feel it differently? How can I experience it differently?
I
So
love
now I can go right back to like root cause, happened when I was a kid, traumatic event, benign traumatic event
Yep.
was, you know, that developed a lot of medical anxiety, and now have really been able to experience that differently. And very rarely would I say at this point that I live with anxiety or panic. I mean, sometimes I'm anxious, but definitely learning how to experience life differently and just healing isn't something I realized was possible. So now here we
I
are.
love I just caught I love that when you started to tell us your story, you said that you were surviving,
Yeah.
and now you just said I'm experiencing life.
Yeah. And
I
so
love
different.
that. That's impactful, that
Yeah.
change. Like you were
Yeah.
surviving and now you're
Yeah.
experiencing.
I mean, I'm doing the best I feel like I've ever been doing, having just gone
Mhm.
through the worst of my
Yeah.
life. So, if that's not a testimony to staying open to learning different ways to experience healing and growth, I don't know what is.
Well,
And so what opened it for you? What, like, I'm so curious as to how you made that change.
My dad, my dad, I think it was his last act of parenting was to turn me into an absolute puddle of myself, losing him. So
and I'm
it was
sorry for your loss. I'm sorry.
yeah, thank you. My dad was my best friend, and he was just foundational in my life. And I mean, I went through this period over the last 5 years, lost a child. My other son was diagnosed with diabetes, working as a firefighter during COVID, as somebody who lives with uh, medical anxiety, health
Mm.
anxiety, bad combination.
Yeah.
Was diagnosed with endometriosis, kind of landed on the chronic pain journey, had to wait out the how long does it take to see a specialist for
Yeah.
women's
Oh,
health issues,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
so
So,
as you said that, I'm like,
You're
oh,
probably still waiting, right?
well, I know I'm 1 year post-op a couple of days ago, but
Fantastic.
had to have like full hysterectomy, excision surgery 3 days after my father's funeral. So I
Oh,
think it was just kind of this like I couldn't cope anymore, no matter
yeah.
how good I got at like putting everything in place, working out, running, lifting harder, talking to my psychologist who during COVID passed away from cancer,
Oh,
who I mean was my one of my lifelines for over 20 years. My doctor who has like this amazing grasp on dealing with an anxious patient. She retired during COVID.
my
Like you
God.
can't, right? You can't write it.
yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
write it.
Yeah.
Can't make this shit up. It's
And
like
Yeah.
then, just
everything was
when
taken away, like your supports,
a-
right?
and what a lesson though. I mean, I got so good at putting everything in place to survive.
Yes.
And that was it, right? Something horrible would happen and I'd push harder, I'd lift heavier, I'd run further, I'd get busier. And
Mm.
then it was like, hang on a second. Somebody's trying to teach you something and you better figure out in a hurry what's out of your control.
Well,
And
yeah, they say that, when life comes knocking, you can put on the mask and survive for so long, but if you don't
yeah,
listen, it's
yeah,
going to knock harder and harder. And holy shit,
a hundred
you've
percent.
gone through in the last year, people don't go through in a lifetime. So I'm just going to say, kudos and God bless if you're spiritual or not. Like,
Oh, 100%.
wow. And now
Yeah.
you're on the other side talking about it on a
Mm.
podcast.
Well, and that's the thing. And that's what it all led back to was how disconnected I was from all of it. And I mean, my father, so many times, so he was living with dementia in the end, and
Mm.
he always somehow still got back to, you need to slow down. And I never listened. Like, I was like, okay,
Never
that's
All
do.
right.
Right,
that's
Chris?
sweet. Thanks, Dad. I'll slow down.
Sounds
That's
familiar.
fine. Right.
Yeah.
But then it was like, I just remember sitting on my kitchen floor thinking, what next? I
Yeah.
mean, post-op, can't lift 10 pounds, can't run,
Yeah.
don't have my psychologist, don't have my doctor, don't have my father, still managing, the stresses in life that aren't unique to me, like in
Yeah.
fairness, and I appreciate the sentiment, but we all go through it. I just happened to
Yeah.
pile it into a short time.
Yeah. You just
Um,
did it speedily.
a little bit. But I mean, again, suffering and I'm not one of those like toxically positive people, but suffering is a gift because suffering comes from a pain that can only be rooted from love. And
Mm.
what a blessing to have so much love in my life to hurt so much.
Yeah.
And it was kind of this moment of like, okay, hang on. Like I'm gonna have to sit with this. I can't run. I can't run.
Yeah.
And it's kind of that whole, you know what, if you keep pushing heart and mind, at some point your body is gonna say, fine, you're not listening.
Yeah.
So
So we're gonna shut down.
we're going to shut you down. And that was it. I just found myself in this moment of completely undone, just unraveled. And it was a blessing because it gave me an opportunity to really sit with what made me so uncomfortable. And
Mm.
from that discomfort, I started to make all these connections back to, myself and to spirituality and to the things in life that matter and the things I can't control. And so it was really having to like drop the pride, drop the ego, accept it, and figure out how that shows up differently.
I love that. And I want to ask you, so at what moment, so you talk about dropping the ego, people call it the mask or whatever. I feel
Mhm.
that if you don't drop that, no matter what we're going through, you can never get to the other side, right? Just being that vulnerable self of saying, okay, life, like you said, what next? Or now what? You had to sit with it, sit in that uncomfortable place and figure it out, right? Without the supports, like you say, that we either put in place to survive, right?
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
just, yeah, I let you are, just checking off so many boxes of somebody who I love very, very dearly. That sounds so much like you. And I just want to ask you one question. Being a goalie, I have two goalie kids, I have a hockey team.
Uh-oh.
I'm just going to
Uh-oh.
say this, the worst position on the whole team.
For
I
parents.
had two.
For parents.
Yeah, for parents, I think I've lost years. Because you're either the hero or the bum. There's no in between. You're sort of alone, even though I'm always like, it went through five guys, not one, right? Or six people, not one. And it was always, whatever. And it's a very solitude place between the pipes, right? So
Yeah.
looking back, was that someplace you put yourself? I mean, I know as goalies, you just love it. Like there's got to be something. And you're a firefighter to have a puck, wailed at you, what, at 80 or 90 kilometers an hour, and you're like, okay, I want more. There's something about that. But looking back, would you say being a goalie sort of was how you were feeling at the time, somewhat very alone until you hit that aha moment?
So I love it because goaltending's such an easy thing to pick on when it comes to my
Oh,
story. It's
so
so
easy.
easy. It's so easy to be like the pressure, the solitude, what you're carrying. Hockey saved my life. Being a
Yeah.
goalie saved my life.
Same with one of my kids too.
You know, you everybody has their place in the world where everything else just kind of falls away. The chaos falls away, the conflict, the problems, everything you're trying to sort through in life. And that was the crease for me. I mean, it was the only place that, I mean, so for 5 years, like after I was diagnosed, I quit Team Canada just prior to diagnosis, not knowing what I was dealing with. I couldn't leave my apartment. I couldn't physically be alone. I was down to 120 pounds. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Leading
Wow.
up to pre-diagnosis and not knowing how to manage, I tried dealing with it myself. I drank too much. I did everything not knowing, and then I did everything they told me to do. I took the medication, I did the talk therapy, physical activity, so on and so forth. But learning to cope with the chaos that was just constant in my life and the fear. I mean, the fear was so deeply rooted. The only place that didn't exist was in the crease. It was like this meditative existence. It was hell getting to the crease,
Yeah.
physically getting to the game took everything out of me. Recovering from what it took to get to the game took everything out of me. But literally, hockey is the only reason that I left my apartment for 5 years. Like it was my doctors, my parents, they sat me down and they said, you don't get to give up on life. Like you need to keep one commitment. We don't care what it is. And that what a privileged place to be in. Let me just start with that. The fact that I had parents who were financially stable enough to care for me and protect me in a way that not going to work was an option.
Mm.
Dropping out of school, which became necessity, but also it wasn't the end of my story.
Yeah.
Um, So what privilege, right? What privilege to have that level of support. And also through hockey. I had reached a level of hockey that had allowed me and afforded me access to resources that aren't common for everybody.
Mm,
So what a gift. But they basically looked at me and said, one commitment. We don't care what it is, but
I love
something. You don't get to give up on life. You don't get to lay down and not have a single thing that you are required to do in your life. And the only thing I could pick was hockey.
and
So,
exactly. And
wow.
I just think of what mental strength, you said all these things and you were falling apart and everything, but you were still able to do like, this is just being a parent and also owning
mhm,
a team. I feel like the goalies have to have and do have such mental strength to
mhm.
come back from being the hero or the bum, only as good as your last game,
Yeah.
whatever, however people talk about it. I still feel I just have this undying respect and love for goaltenders. So I'm just going to say
Well,
that.
I'm in the right place then.
You
Yeah.
you never are, but when and many times, and my one son played at a very high level, even parents on our team and kids would be like, oh, they were shit, and I'm like, really? It was like terrible. So
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I know
It's
you're mentally you had to go through all of that and have it all torn down, but I still believe you, since you were young, you probably really did have this mental strength that kept you going.
Well, yeah, and I mean, you're not wrong. It's a lot. I think playing any position at that level is a lot. I mean, but yes, goalies are an easy target. It's an easy place to blame. It's an easy place to drop it all off and say, hey, if they had done better, this would have been different. Absolutely. Um, but unbeknownst to me, I think that was also quietly in the background, and not because I was putting effort into it with the hopes of becoming mentally resilient and strong and be able to deal with problem solving and deal with, emotional response and such. It wasn't intentional, but my whole life from the time I was 6 in this position, I was being gifted with all of these internal skill sets that again, how fortunate am I? Because had I not had those when all of these moments hit in life, the story might have looked a lot different.
Absolutely. And I've got this saying where, oh, okay, hold on. We all got to show our tats. I'm
Oh,
just saying, come on.
those are the only ones I'm allowed to show on a podcast.
Yeah, well, we've shown other ones, but I know you wanted to give a shout out to your artist too.
Oh,
So
Lou Paracelli. I mean, she's the greatest. She has a studio in Vaughan, DreamWorks, and I am her canvas now. So
I love
Love
that.
that.
yeah.
I have somewhere on my arm, the struggles part of the story. And I always say the struggle's a detour and it's your training ground. You talk a lot about, thank God for my struggles. And Chris and I talk about this on
Mm,
stage, on
yeah.
podcast, and anybody who will listen that, when you get rejected, when you have, any kind of obstacle, be happy about it. And people are like, have you been
Mhm.
drinking?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or like, not today, but um, be thankful because there's a lesson, there's growth. Like growth doesn't happen when you're sitting comfortably, right? It
Yeah.
happens in those horribly uncomfortable moments.
Yeah.
Chris, you and I chat about this all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. And that really resonated with me when you were telling your story, Kendra, that moment of like when you were, I mean, maybe I don't know, I want to put words in your mouth, but like let's say at your worst
Mhm.
or the worst things were happening is
Yeah.
when you saw the most change and the most growth and the most like figuring it out in a different way.
Yeah.
And I think that the years and years, and I think so many people really struggle with this, the masking, the I'm just surviving, I'm
Hmm.
just making it to the next step,
Hmm.
and so I love how when you tell your story you can see that transition. Was there anything when you got to that moment, like you said, it was your dad, it was you on a puddle on the floor, you were done, but was there a first step? Was there something that you could share if someone's in that spot where they're at that moment, they're that
Yeah.
puddle? Like,
Yeah.
is there a first step you could share that, like, just try this? Like, just here's a spoonful of hope.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough, right? Because what I'm finding is I'm learning how to tell a new version of a story that I've been telling for
Yeah.
15 years. And how awesome is
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Um,
Amazing.
but I mean, I think that survival is a piece, right? Like we survive until we get a chance to do better. We
Yeah.
survive with what we know until we can learn to do differently, and that's okay. And I think the
Yeah.
problem is that we tend to beat the hell out of ourselves when we're at our
Mm.
worst because we're failing, we're not doing enough, we're not getting it right. The inner critic just comes out full
Yeah.
force in those moments. And it's kind of this checklist that we do of all of the things we're not doing. And
Yeah.
we tend to go there full force. That becomes our entire focus. And when our entire focus is on, failing, the world is shit, we're not going anywhere, there's no way through this, you perpetuate that and you
Yeah.
continue to build on that. And it becomes the wall that you are putting all of your effort into building. The problem is you're building it in front of yourself.
Ooh,
So
that's
I
powerful.
think that
Yeah.
there's a certain level of strength and growth that people don't recognize that comes in being gentle. It comes with
Mm.
slowing down. It comes with accepting the moment for what it is and meeting yourself where you're at with grace. And this was a lesson that my father taught me tenfold, close to the end. In a few moments, he was living with Lewy body dementia and Parkinson's, and we were very fortunate. We were always able to connect with him, not
Mm.
not with the same
Yeah.
same consistency.
Yeah.
There were obvious deficits that come with dementia and Parkinson's that are horrific.
Yeah.
But we were always lucky that we had those moments of clarity where it was, he knew it was us, we knew it was him. That connection was strong.
Yeah.
And I was granted the greatest gift of my life early-ish in kind of his deterioration when somebody challenged me to meet him where he was at. And
Mm.
it was kind of that sense of every time I saw him, there was this sense of sadness and this feeling of dread and this feeling of what's coming and what's lost. And it was really easy to focus on all those things as we
Yeah.
do ourselves when we're
Yeah.
struggling. But just that slight perspective shift of, but he's here and
Yeah.
you get to have this moment.
Don't throw it away. Don't.
And this
Yeah.
and this moment can be beautiful. It might
Yeah.
not look like what you expected it would.
Yeah.
He might not have the ability to show up in the way that you expect he could, but he's here.
Yeah.
And there's love and there's connection and there's an opportunity to sit in that moment with him. And I get that. I get to have that.
Yeah.
And we don't offer ourselves the same kindness. I
Mm.
get to have this moment. I get to have the sadness that comes from having an amazing father.
Yeah.
I get to deal with the struggle of managing an illness with my son because I get to have a son who is
Yeah.
beautiful and healthy and
Yeah.
safe. And, we tend to focus on the hard. So in those moments when you are really, really struggling, and it's not to say it doesn't have to be rainbows and unicorns. It's not, oh, this is great. We have to pretend this is awesome. No, it sucks. It's hard. It
Yeah.
hurts, but you're here.
Yeah.
You're here
Yeah.
and acknowledge it because we tend to, again, that checklist. Here's what I didn't do today. Here's what I failed at. No, what did you do today?
Yeah.
And start making note of it. Start taking those baby steps because every one of those baby steps adds up. And it's not
Absolutely.
as though ever in those moments of just complete despair, I was like, oh, this is the best moment of
Yeah.
growth
No.
of my life. It
No.
was those moments past, and I realized I got through them, and everything that's come from that
Yeah.
has been just life changing. So
100.
I
it's,
love that. I love that switch. I've been trying to do that recently. I love the switch of not I have to, I get to.
yeah,
Not I have to survive this. I get to feel this loss, sadness,
yeah,
whatever it is, because there is something to mourn. Like,
yeah,
how lucky am I to have something to miss that much, or, be
yeah.
sad about, or, miss someone I love, or whatever it is. And so I love that switch. And I think that's powerful.
We try to push those feelings away so hard.
Yeah.
We don't
Yeah.
want to feel sadness. We don't want to be angry. We don't want hurt. We don't want awkward or uncomfortable. And as people, we tend to the moment those feelings kind of show themselves, it's like, how do I package this out
Yeah.
of my life? How can
And
I
get it
push?
out. Yeah.
And we put all of our effort into that, which
Mm.
really is just us then focusing on the thing we don't want to feel, which makes us
Yeah.
feel it at a deeper level.
Yeah.
But what if we accept that I am going to have this massive piece of grief in my life for the rest of my life? There's no
Yeah.
version of this world that I get used to without having
Yeah.
my father in it.
Yeah.
There's
Never.
no part of it.
Yeah.
And that sadness is always going to exist. And it's not a matter of how am I going to survive it. It's, you know what, I can't do life letting that be the star of every day. So
Yeah.
I'm going to accept that there is this sadness in my heart
Yeah.
that I will never lose. I get to have that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean joy and happiness can't be happening at the same time.
Mm.
Right.
And when you make space for all of it, when you accept that you can actually experience all of these things at the same time,
Yeah.
I can just, you know what, right now, Pops, I love you. I'm going to have to turn the volume down on this sad for
Yeah.
a second
Yeah.
because I also want to be present for this.
Yeah.
And that's not me diminishing that. That's not me getting over it, forgetting it, pretending it didn't exist. It's just accepting, you know what, it's still going to be there when I need to revisit that later
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
That's so true. With Father's Day that just passed, I did a post and of course, celebrating the hubby, celebrating other, incredible men in my life. And it's not Father's Day. It's like, it's sort of every day you miss him. And mine has been like 30 years, 30
Yeah.
plus years now, actually. And you're right. It never goes away, but you grow to realize like, thank God I loved him that much and he loved
Yeah.
me. And we had these memories. And yes, it sucks he didn't get to meet my kids. And
Yeah.
yes, whatever. But, I feel like honoring people that we've loved and honoring, like how you put it so brilliantly, honoring the fact that you got to have that love,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I think is so powerful. You and I think the three of us could probably talk for about what, 3 or 4 days, Chris?
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
you
I think
know,
there's gonna have to be another part two,
yeah,
part
I think
three.
Love it.
we're gonna be
Not
like
a
part
series.
35.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
you definitely have so much to offer just through
Yeah.
sharing your story and your experience. So I'm gonna ask you the question I ask everybody. Everybody gets stumped, even though people listen to the podcast.
Okay, I'm ready.
What does it mean to you to be unbreakable?
I don't, so that's a really tough one for me. You're right, stumped. That's a good word. Um, I made a very conscious decision years ago when I was still very much in the throes of dealing with mental health issues and struggling to survive, struggling to find a way till tomorrow, not knowing if I could, not knowing if I would. Um, I made a very conscious decision to take giving up off the table, and
Ooh,
that
Mm.
changed my life. It took 50% of the work out of every morning I woke up because no longer is it, am I going to make it or am I not? It's, I'm going to make it. How does that look?
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the closest I've ever come to recognizing that I am unbreakable because what's going to happen and what's supposed to happen is going to happen. I don't get to decide that. I get to decide how I participate with it. And I don't give anything permission to break me. I simply
Right.
choose that I'm going to show up every day, whether it's imperfectly
Showing up.
or messy or as the best version of myself. And when you're present and you're showing up, that's what we have to offer life.
Yeah,
mm,
And
I think it's
so,
amazing. Adrian and I talk about showing up all the time. So
yeah,
I'm so glad you put it that way. And I have to say, I think it's amazing that, like you said earlier, you're rewriting the way you tell the story. So keep doing that. I think it's really impactful. I think it's amazing what you're
thank
doing
you.
and how you're sharing your story.
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much. We so appreciate you sharing this with us. There's definitely different parts to this, but applaud you for everything you've accomplished, and you continue to tell and help others along the way. You're the
Yeah.
best. Have a good day.
I
Thanks,
appreciate it.
Kendra.
Thank you, ladies.